You are well balanced. And I mean that. That's not because the microphone's on. You're a well-balanced person, at least in our conversations. Not so much in the stories you sometimes bring to the conversations. It sounds like things are a little rough. But I have to say, in our conversations, you're very well-balanced.
Okay.
And I that's impressive because I admire
thanks.
that.
I mean, if you're not pulling my chain here with that comment, I will say this. I don't believe in astrology signs to much of a degree. But for some reason, I'm a Libra, and it's scales, and it's about balance, and I often am told that I am very good about seeing both sides and staying even-keeled and even in balance. So that you say that unprovoked, lend some credence to that, maybe. I don't know.
Awesome. You know who else is a Libra?
You are.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let that say what it does. But yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Tickled me.
Hey everyone ever, and welcome to a bonus episode of 20th Century Pop. A bonus one, not a normal one. But it's in the normal feed, and it's on the normal website, and it's the same two normal hosts. But instead of a well-researched at times, or our 20-minute disaster like what would be last week's, this is just a quick, brief little 15, 20-minute
like a lighthearted version of the show.
Right?
Maybe.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. Lighthearted. Following
and who
last
are
week's
you?
Heavy-hearted. That's a good question to ask all of us. I think we should always take a little time out of our day and wonder, who the fuck do we think we are? I'm Tim Blevins.
I'm Bob Canning, and I've realized what our bonus episodes, how to determine if it's a bonus episode or not, is generally I start talking before we've introduced ourselves. That'll be our bonus clue. People will know it's a bonus episode because I will also join the conversation prior to introducing myself.
Yeah, bonus. That's what they say. That's what that is. It's. I think for all you Canaanites out there, I think that's what we're calling your fans.
Okay, that's not been used before. Let's use that.
I'm not saying we have fans. I mean, I did, but I'm not believing the sentence I said.
Sure.
But yours would be called Canaanites, and mine would probably be called, I could probably just call them Mom and Dad. But last week's episode was supposed to have been a little bit about capitalism, commercialism. Mm-hmm. I think it
was a little bit about that.
Sure. If you haven't listened to it and you want to, please do. It went some directions that provoked a few things in me that I think we'll explore again in the future. I wonder if I've been thinking about it. Truth be known, we record these episodes one after another, so a week hasn't passed for us, so I haven't processed that breakdown. But judging from how quickly we went into recording this, Bob and I are still reasonably good friends and still doing a podcast together. So,
yes.
So that's good. So so coming off of an episode that was kind of about how maybe capitalism attempts to appeal to a certain generation, for us, Generation X, kind of how does the world of commercials sell to us? Bob, what's this bonus episode? How does that tie into that?
Well, this bonus episode was, I kind of came up with the topic, and I was inspired by those Volkswagen commercials that I mentioned in the previous episode that used music to help sell the feeling of their product. And
this is in the 90s, correct?
Yeah, this was in the 90s. And the one that really stood out for me, and I don't know if this was the first time that I used commercials to learn about new bands, but I know it wasn't the last, was with that Pink Moon Volkswagen commercial. It's pretty famous, I think, mostly maybe because of the use of the song Pink Moon by Nick Drake. But I heard that song and went out and found that artist who I hadn't really known of before that. And then, I thought, well, what about how advertising now, or in the recent now, are using songs that we know about? So there are people that knew Pink Moon when that song came out, when that commercial came out, and it was new to me. And there are music in commercials now that are new to people that you and I are close and familiar with. And I just wanted to kind of talk about that and how that affects us. And do we like that? And does it matter?
Well, it's interesting because it's coming from two different angles. Because honestly, I the idea of learning of a song from a commercial, from a trailer, from a TV show's use of it, it's somewhere in my head that that's not sincere, which is stupid. We experience music how we experience it, but if a few years back now, AT&T used a song called New York Groove as in one of their commercials, that Back in a New York Groove song. I'm forgetting who sings it, not the Ace Frehley song, and I had never heard it before. I liked it on those commercials. I sought it out on iTunes, and I downloaded it thinking, okay, I'll just put this in my rotation like I was always into it. That way I can hear it. But the version I downloaded, the official version of New York Groove, in parentheses has AT&T commercial branded on it. So my track is telling people, that, oh, this is from that commercial. And they did that so I could find it. That's how I found the fucking song. But I'm embarrassed by that because I feel like it's selling to me somehow. Like when you heard Pink Moon, was it weird to you that you were getting it from a commercial, or was it really just like, oh yeah, I like the song? And did you realize what the commercial was for?
Did I realize what the commercial was for? Yeah, it was for a car. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so that was there, but
yeah.
Okay, so you did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I realized what the commercial was for, but no, yeah, I heard the song, and yeah, I went out just like you did, and I looked it up, and listened to some other Nick Drake songs, having, again, not heard of the artist before that. And then I went out and bought the album that Pink Moon was on. So that was my
weird.
path.
It didn't seem
weird. No, it just seemed like that's how I discovered that artist.
You didn't think like much of America is also discovering the artist this way right now?
I did think that. I felt like there was a Nick Drake boom after that. And maybe it was just because I was kind of getting into his music at that time and learning more about him. But I feel like there was maybe even a re-release of something around that time. So I felt like the commercial brought him back into the popular culture.
And that didn't bother you? That didn't
No, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I was new to it.
Sure. Well, that must be it, because you're hearing it as the music, not as a attempt to sell to you already knowing the song.
Right.
I will admit, I may have slightly misunderstood what you were asking us to bring to this episode, because the first song I came up with is actually a song from the 90s, a commercial from the 90s, and it was the first time I had heard that song.
Yeah.
And it always kind of stuck with me. There was The Gap, the clothing store The Gap, had a series of very popular ads in the late 90s that were incorporating cover versions of very popular 80s and 90s songs. And there was one that had all these different people wearing different leather jackets, leather pants, leather shirts, and it would zoom in on each of them, and they were all singing portions of the song Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode. Do you know that song?
Yeah. Well, I know the song. Is it Depeche Mode?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I just can't get enough of you every time. Yeah. And I had never heard that song before, but I remember the commercial coming on and being taken by it every time because there was a melody there and you got different voices singing it and it seemed emotional and I loved it. Loved it to the point that I sought out Depeche Mode a couple years later, sought out a version of that song, and it sounds a little different. Mm-hmm. And I was initially let down because I don't shop at the Gap. I like to think, and I didn't care for the Gap because they had a lot of swing dancing commercials at the time. But it was a very sweet, kind of nice version of all these young, different people. I mean, I guess they were all too beautiful for reality people, but a variety of different people's different faces all singing parts of the song and then singing it in unison together. And it seemed very sweet. Yeah. And I could separate it from the commercial. And but that was as much as I knew of it. It was in my head for a few years that when I finally found, it was, I think it was a compilation at first that I got of Depeche Mode songs. It was on there.
I thought it was a Gap commercial compilation.
It was a Gap compilation. It had Jump and Jive in on it and this. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I didn't feel guilty about it. I think because a little time had passed, I wasn't sharing it with anybody. I just kind of felt like this is a great song, and I grew to really like the Depeche Mode version. I like it a lot, but. Nice. But that's kind of different than what I guess what you were asking.
Yeah. My kind of thought on this process is it's curious how fans of Nick Drake may have felt of that song being used, and so I was trying to think of songs that you and I were fans of, or at least in this case I was fan of that I now am hearing in commercials.
Which I have one, by the way. I do have one.
Okay. So. And there's a couple that stood out for me from the recent past. And one was a song by the band The Laws. And I think a lot of people are familiar with There She Goes. It's probably their most popular song. But the one that I really like was a song called Feelin'. And it's this really upbeat, short pop song. I would use it a lot to fill like the end gap on a mixtape where it just had maybe 2 minutes of time left. And this song fit perfectly. And it was a good feeling song.
Your Brom Rar by Led Zeppelin.
There you go. It was just a happy, great song. And I feel like I introduced it to a lot of people, and there are a few people in my circle that I introduced the song to, and they are now fans of the song, or were fans of the song. And then, a decade later, 15 years later, from the 90s, watching TV, and I think it was a car commercial. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find it, but I think it was a car commercial that used this song. And it was just one of those cold, metallic looking, everything was silver car commercials, where they were trying to be joyful because this song is so happy sounding. And it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Sure.
That they're taking...
When did the commercial ad?
What's
air?
that?
When did the commercial air?
I feel like it was 2008, 2010, that era.
So recent enough within your 30s.
Like a good 15 years, 20 years after the album. Mm-hmm. And like 15 years after me becoming a fan of the album and the song. And at first I was like, this really bothers me that this song is being used to sell a product. But then I kind of enjoyed that the song was out there. That this, small album that not many people know of, and a song off of it that if you know any song off of it, you don't know this one, was at least getting played for 30 seconds 3 times a night or whatever, on national television. So it's like that mixed emotion I had of this song that was really dear to me being used commercially, but at the same time being happy that it was out there. Do you have any
so other people can hear it? Like,
yeah, so that other people can hear it and maybe have that Pink Moon experience that I had. It's like, let me look up that song. Wow, that song is so great and so exhilarating. Let me look up that band, and I just don't know if that happens, and maybe it still does. I know music like that is more accessible. What's the app that you can just kind of play and pick up a song and it'll tell you what it is?
I forget what it's called, but I know it wears round rim glasses and a derby hat.
There you go. I don't have that app, which is ridiculous. I feel like I probably should. But
I don't know. I feel like, because again, you can do it in different ways. I feel like that's dishonest in a way. Not for real,
using
but for how
app?
I want to experience something. To just have an app that would instantly tell me what something is like that.
Yeah.
And again, we can do it. We have the internet. We do it with IMDb. We've talked before about actors and stuff. But with music, I'm just like, at that point, because I'm forgetting the name of the app, but I know the one you're talking about. At that point, we're immediately removing ourselves. Like, it's like, oh, what's this song? So instead of listening to it, experiencing it, and letting it roll into it, we're trying to just get the title. We're trying to make sure we can file it away. And I think that, for how I want to approach music, takes me out of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's probably why I've never downloaded it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's useful because what's the other version? You turn to the person next to you and say, hey, what song is this?
Or you go onto YouTube, look up the product that it was selling so you could hear the commercial, and then maybe see if there's any other suggestions that involve that band because that song is in it. Or you do what I've done in the past. Oh, this is creepy. I shouldn't be telling you this. There are marketing websites and advertising themed websites that give you all the details of a commercial, the actors, the company that made it, and the music that's in it. So that's another way to
it's
find
like
stuff.
IMDb. It's just for ads.
Yeah.
I know that. But yeah, and it's interesting because that's that weird blurry line of experience that I'm only creating. I don't think it's really there. Mm. But because we're talking music being the sacred thing in a way to both of us, this idea of, and again, you can't do it after you get older, but as a kid, when you experience these things that are important to you, Like you must have been 16 when you heard that Laws song, 17 maybe.
Yeah, 17, 18.
I mean, they weren't everywhere. There She Goes
Yeah.
was popular, but actually not as popular as the covers of it are. So you kind of found it and stumbled into it and got to hear it on your own terms.
Yeah.
And so I think that experience, for me at least, always makes me possessive. So that if someone took that same song and now they're putting it to sell something, and that's how somebody finds it, I have this stupid thing inside me that doesn't want to trust that. Similar to the whole, well, let me do the easy research to find out who this is versus just, let me sit with this song for a while and eventually learn who's there. And I'm saying this because I think this shows a polar difference. I think this shows a polar bear's difference. No, I think the idea of finding Nick Drake, how you found it sounded lovely. You sounded very excited to find who he is, and it's just really about the album. For me, discovering and then eventually finding Just Can't Get Enough is how I pursued that song. That's fine. When it's something that I already have that pre-existing relationship with, I feel it cheapens it to then put it into an advertisement, even though other people might discover it this way.
Yeah.
I feel it's a betrayal. I feel it reduces it. And I actually can have a hard time handling it, which is silly to think. Because again, that's how I heard these other songs. You know, I didn't know Lou Reed's Heroin was a song until I got it off the Doors soundtrack. Why didn't you get it off a Velvet Underground soundtrack? Because at 15, I was never going to listen to Velvet Underground. I heard a Doors album because the movie was out. Likewise, why am I not going to listen to the Laws? Because maybe who's got that album? Who's playing that album? No one. So these shouldn't be bad things. But so like the example I grabbed, and this enrages me. This ad plays during Jeopardy. So a few times a week when my partner and I are home and she's watching Jeopardy, I can get mad at this advertisement. And it's a song. The song they use, they're not alone in using. This song is way, in my view, overused.
Okay.
But there's a Hood cottage cheese commercial.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the good people at Hood? They bring us things like cottage cheese.
I know
milk.
Hood. We don't have Hood out here, but I do know Hood. Having grown up on the East Coast.
For West Coast listeners, Hood is a company that makes dairy products. One of those products, cottage cheese. Not a bad product. I'll put it on a cracker. I'll put it on bread. It falls easily, so I'll eat it off the floor. But it's nothing. It's nothing you think about. It's not exciting. Supposedly, it's a slimming meal. Anyways, they have a commercial for Hood cottage cheese, and it's a bunch of young. Actually, it's all women in the commercial. Young ladies who are in fit. Or who are trying to stay in shape, who are working their jobs, and they have to eat something. They have to eat something on the go. So they eat Hood cottage cheese. They eat it with different kind of flavors, peaches and pear, and I don't know, less dairy, whatever the flavors are. So it's fine. It's a commercial basically telling you curdled milk is something you can eat. All right, whatever. But that's good. I mean,
Sure.
I wouldn't have known otherwise. I eat cottage cheese.
How do they soundtrack this commercial, Tim?
Well, for the 32 seconds, whatever that the commercial's on, there's something very familiar in the background. Something consisting of one of my favorite remnants of the 80s, a synthesizer. And there's a bit of a drum beat, and there's some notes being hit vocally that I don't think human beings can all hit because there's an emotion behind it we don't all feel. Basically, Hood cottage cheese feels that that maybe you haven't given Hood cottage cheese a chance. So to go out, maybe next time you're in the store, if you're looking around, maybe that would be your time to give Hood cottage cheese the proper attention. Maybe what you could do, a little bit of a chance with Hood. Maybe you can take on Hood cottage cheese, which to replace that with a first person narrative pronoun, Take on Me by Aha. Is the fucking song that they use to sell cottage cheese. Not even to me, to an age beneath me. This isn't appealing to the generation who grew up feeling that what romance felt like were those notes.
Is it
The fact that there's one extra word in that song that I never heard until the last year
in this commercial?
boggles my mind. No, I heard it prior to the Hood cottage cheese commercial. But Take On Me, and it's it's overplayed. It's not like you don't hear that song. It's in the Ready Player One commercial. It was in Base-ketball. I'm sure the Muppets have performed it.
Base-ketball.
But it's still it's the most impactful pop song I think I've ever heard. And I never think of it as my favorite, but it sounds unlike anything else, not just that the band does, but that's out there.
Yeah.
There's a swooning musicality to it. The video is just comic books. And it really is what it feels like without having to have someone to aim it at. This is what we want love to feel like. It's an desperate feeling.
It's an important song. It connected with you. It might not be your favorite song, like you say, but it means something.
Yeah.
And it means more than cottage cheese, I think is what you're saying.
But the weird thing is, why? First of all, why? What does that song have to do with? I had to bend it to make it fit into that dumb series of buildup I created of tension to mention it. And it's such a well-known song. That's the other thing. It's like, it's the day and it's like, no, it's what's the biggest Beatles song of all time? It's what, Twist and Shout of its generation. It's Satisfaction. I'm trying to pick bands also that I like, but it's huge.
It's a pretty big song.
It's powerful, and it's just played in the background, mostly instrumental. The lyrics come in at the end. And I don't know if people, by the way, are discovering this song. I think everyone knows this song. How is it that everyone knows this song? I don't know. Why is it on every iPod? Not that people have iPods anymore. I don't know. But it's just, for such an impressive, meaningful piece of the 80s to be thrown into a dairy product commercial,
right,
does drive me bonkers.
There is no connection. It's not. That's why I think maybe it's driving you bonkers, because there's no real connection, unless maybe it's the age bracket of these women, and this is a song from their youth. Perhaps
they're all younger than I am, I assume.
Yeah. So then I'm
43.
So it is very hard to find a connection.
42, by the way. I don't know why I just said 43.
Because you exaggerate. We've already established that.
No, I am 43. Holy shit! I'll be 44 in October.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that's got to be frustrating every night listening to that.
Plus, I already feel ridiculously dumb because there's a lot of geography questions on Jeopardy. But I don't know. I mean, do you get enraged by a song you like being in a commercial? Does it bother you?
Well,
the laws didn't.
It bothers. No, the laws didn't. But the next one I want to talk about does. And I think it bothers me in a lot of the same respect that this song is bothering you being used. Because there's a song that means something, that achieved something greater than what it is now relegated to, as being in a cottage cheese commercial. By
the way, not many songs can boast that.
I guess that's true. So it's continuing to achieve
many
things.
Songs can boast that. I'm not going to Google search it or Yahoo search it or ask Jeeves it. But there are plenty of pop songs that have showed up in a yogurt commercial.
I guess that is true. But
forgettable now because they're yogurt songs.
I have a similar
Cottage
take.
cheese, excuse me.
Speaking of taking on, I have a similar take on do you remember those 2010 era Kia commercials? And actually, I think they might still be using these cast of characters in their commercials. Those Kia driving gerbils.
Oh yeah, those are odd ads. I haven't seen one in a while.
You don't
but
seem to dislike gerbils selling you cars. You seem like, oh yeah, those cute gerbils, huh?
I have no attachment to gerbils. It's bizarre looking.
Yeah, okay. You don't have an attachment to gerbils, but I have an attachment to a song from my high school years by a band called Black Sheep. Hip hop artists that do the song "The Choice Is Yours," which was used in this commercial, and these gerbils rapped the song. They were lip syncing the song.
Sure.
And so that is the type of experience. You know, it's similar to Feeling. It's another car commercial, But the fact that you're putting the words of the song into the gerbil's mouth,
You're making fun of the song.
you're making fun of the song is what you're doing. And now the song itself, I get why this song, and I'm surprised it's not used more, and maybe it has been used more. The song has a refrain of you could get with this or you could get with that. You could get with this or you could get with that.
I thought that was a Moby song.
I think you're thinking of, that's not Moby, that's Fatboy Slim.
Yes, I thought that was a Fatboy Slim song.
Fatboy Slim uses the same refrain. It's a hip hop thing, so it might have even been sampled from another song for both of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
So
from a Moby song?
Maybe from Moby. I don't think it was from Moby. I don't think Moby was. This was like 88 or 89. This song,
and Moby was
or
born
maybe
in
92,
90?
something. Maybe it's Moby. My point is, Tim.
Do you think Jim Rash sings it?
Jim Rash. My point is, it's like that's another song that, okay, fine. I guess I can accept that maybe it's getting out there to the world and other people are experiencing this song, but not in this fashion. I did not care for it in this fashion at all. To be turned into a cartoon animal hip hop fest for cars that they can't even really drive, for God's sake.
That's true. A gerbil cannot drive a car like that. Maybe a Fiat.
That was one of those times where I did not like the fact that the song was mutilated, basically, for this use.
Because they're doing something more creative with it, too, which is weird. It's not just that it's playing as they show. You were saying like they're trying to jazz up stock footage of a car with the Law song, if I heard you right.
Yeah.
So they were soundtracking it.
Right.
Pre-existing footage. This was replace it. This is actually needs the song for the visual to work.
Correct. The song is actually now being used to sell the product because there were two different models of Kia that you could choose. You could get with one or the other.
Well, I mean, but the Law song is also being used to sell the car, but this is a little more creative use of the song.
Right. It's changing.
This displays that someone who didn't just randomly grab it is aware of the song because they had to animate hamsters. Gerbils?
Gerbils.
I'm sorry.
Hamsters or gerbils. To sing it. Yeah, they're changing the meaning of the song.
Did you say hamsters are gerbils?
Or gerbils. I couldn't tell you.
They're very
for sure.
different.
I know, but I don't know what's in this car commercial.
Okay.
It's one or the other.
It's this or that.
It is.
It could be a gerbil or they, yeah. But I think there's something to that because there's effort now put into using that song.
Right.
Now, again, not that the other one's not, but
it's changing the meaning. It's there's probably people out there that thought the song was written for that commercial, for that gerbil to sing, that didn't know the song prior, and so now they just think it's a jingle by gerbils.
Well, but if they like it, it's a song that they got to hear if they like the song.
Sure, but they're going to like it, and they're going to go out and look for the gerbil band. The Kia Gerbils put out an album, they hope, with this song on it.
But now with the internet, your search is probably going to bring
it will be
the other
corrected.
band up first. Maybe not.
What if you're just that person, though, that sits on the couch and enjoys the gerbil song and doesn't go out and try and find it anywhere else? You are left with that belief that is the original work of the Kia advertising team and their gerbils.
Or it's a catchy song. I mean, this is the experience I had with the Just Can't Get Enough Gap commercial. I didn't pursue I knew the name Depeche Mode, but I didn't know them very well in the 80s.
But did you know that song was not for that, like, written? That was a song that existed prior to that commercial. Did you know that?
I think because their other commercials had pre-existing songs.
Sure.
I don't think I was consciously saying, oh, who sings this song? I think I liked it because of how it was performed.
Yeah.
And the person sitting on their couch who is watching these gerbils sing and thinks it's catchy, I don't think it's a Chipmunk situation where they're like, what's their full album? It's this little segment. I'm agreeing with you, by the way, that, that's obnoxious. It's interesting. It's making me for a minute to step off to the side to think. Do you like Weird Al Yankovic?
I enjoy Weird Al, yeah.
Do you like Nirvana?
I do.
Do you like Coolio?
Not a huge Coolio fan.
Oh, okay.
I know that one song. Doesn't bother me.
Gangster Paradise?
I do. That's the one song.
That's a pretty important song, right?
I guess so.
It has something to say. Video is kind of cutting edge.
Yeah.
Smells Like Teen Spirit. it meant something to our generation. There's some anger there, some sounds.
Where are we going with this, Timmy?
I love Weird Al. I think he's brilliant, and I think he did a lot to introduce almost a reverse version of these commercials. He introduced me to a lot of music as a kid, and then through that found the originals, but also he's a talented musician. I can't take Smells Like Teen Spirit or Gangster's Paradise. I can't hear them without hearing his lyrics. I can't hear them. In fact, I know his lyrics. I don't know their lyrics.
Sure, okay.
So those songs are always funny to me. Allison, my partner, and I were watching just a block of 90s videos on MTV Classic, and Gangster Paradise came on. And there's a lot being said in that song, and I realized I've never really listened to the song because I've got the Amish Paradise by Weird Al going.
Yeah.
So it takes the place of that song. I'm giving it a pass because I love Weird Al. But it's a similar thing where that song has been twisted for another, in this case, not a commercial, it's for another art, a parody song.
Yeah.
But it has somehow gained ownership over the song.
Right.
And maybe that's part of it. It's now has been pulled into another experience, and that experience is being shared by tons of people. It's like songs in movies.
Yeah.
I just saw Captain Marvel this past week, and it's set in the 90s, and they're using a lot of songs from the 90s in it, like Only Happy. Oh, spoilers, by the way, for the soundtrack of Captain Marvel. It uses that garbage song, Only Happy When It Rains. It uses that whole song, Celebrity Skin. What else is in there? There's a couple of songs
Just
in there.
a Girl, no doubt.
Just a Girl is in there. And it's putting them in the context of this movie, and to a degree, because, and I was reading some articles about this too, because I lived through the 90s, I know that, wait, these are the big hits. And now they're in the movie. So it's like, oh, you're taking the big hits in the 90s and you're just shoving them in the movie. Now this is what these songs are. Mm-hmm. But it's also kind of like that is what would have been on the radio. But two, it's just kind of like, yeah, these are songs that work. These are good enough songs. Most people can relate to these songs versus a deep cut. I don't think they're going to go find the garbage deep cut off of Garbage 2.0 and put that in the movie.
Right.
I don't think they're going to find, because it would have a different impact. It would still be serving a weird commercial purpose. Like, look at the song I know, but it's being adapted into it. It's a movie set in the 90s with a superhero. We're getting a feel for it. It's, in some ways, music is shorthand because it gets you to that feeling, but it's also really well used, and it's just cool and it's fun. But it's manipulating that song, and now there's a larger audience that knows that song. Because more people saw Captain Marvel in just its opening weekend, yay, than own that garbage album that... is it Stupid Girl? What album is Happy When It Rains off of?
I don't recall the name of the album.
What I think, yeah. So more people saw Captain Marvel.
Self-titled,
possibly ST, which I didn't know meant self-titled for a while. There's a Fugazi album called ST, but more people now associate it with the bigger media than the original.
Right,
and I think that and sometimes bugs me a little bit.
Sure, and
it must bug the artist. I mean, more. I don't know if it's true, but maybe more people know Amish Paradise than know Gangster Paradise. That's weird, Right. And more people know the you can go with this or you can go with that song you were talking about. Because I play a lot of You Don't Know Jack. That's why I pronounce it like that. But that song, more people know it, like you're saying, from the gerbil commercial, because more people are going to see the gerbil commercial in the world where it's at now with population than as it is,
yep.
Then are going to seek out recordings from the 80s. So now this song is that.
Yeah.
It's not the song you get to hear on the radio or on the school bus or however you heard it. I have no idea what your life was like in the 80s. It's this song that's in a commercial. Then this is how, and I think for me, part of it's like, this is how most people now know it. And again, it's that weird contradiction of, well, isn't that good? It's another generation who likes the song. But I think because like you're saying, it's equated to gerbils, not the band, but gerbils.
Yeah.
And that might be an exaggeration. I don't know if people think that. But there's something that's very difficult. And I don't even think it's about selling. Like, I don't know if you're saying it's kind of telling you, well, which of these cars do you want? But I know how a commercial works. I get it. I see celebrities in commercials. I see all of that. I think for me, it's the fact that the audience of a commercial is so much vaster because of its constant play and its multiple pieces of media that it gets stuck into, that I don't like that the song is to that many people. I don't like that Take on Me is now accessible to the Jeopardy viewing audience.
Because they didn't earn it, maybe. They didn't have that experience with the band first, or that's the song itself.
Maybe. What does it matter? Why does that devalue my connection a little bit? I love hearing that song. I listen to that song every day because I love Hood cottage cheese ads. No, because it's just a great song.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's a little exaggerated, but I'm sure I hear it every week.
Sure.
I have my experience and multiple experiences with it. And once again, why is it such a big deal that the world at large now has it?
I think
pause.
Yeah, pause. It's the packaging, like you're saying. It's the packaging of how that song is.
You wouldn't have found Nick Drake if it wasn't for that commercial.
Right, and there might have been a generation ahead of ours that were griping the same way about its use.
But are you or I trying to change our feelings on this?
Change our feelings that on the songs being used?
On how it's impacting us. The fact that you can go with this, you can go, what's the name of that song?
The Choice Is Yours.
The Choice Is Yours. The fact that The Choice Is Yours is being used in a gerbil commercial. Are you trying to come to terms with that so it doesn't bother you?
Yeah, I mean, this was like 10 years ago almost. Okay. I'm sort of past it.
Do you have a more recent example?
Sure. I don't. Unfortunately, I haven't been watching a lot of commercial television, which is, so yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of commercials now.
You might be happy. Wonderwall shows up in a fair amount of things.
I was going to ask.
And TV
I was
shows.
thinking about that. I was thinking about certain bands that don't allow their songs to be used that way, and I thought Oasis was one of them. But you're saying it turns up?
I think I'm typing it in right now.
Yeah. I mean,
yes, they're in a Buy Now hummus commercial.
Really? Oh man!
Let me hit play on this. I'll find out.
No, I'll look it up. Send me the link. I'll find it. Yeah. So that's
this may not be real.
We'll watch it offline. I don't think our
that's
audience
not.
really.
Sorry, that was funny. Okay.
But see, that would affect me. That would affect me even more than these other songs, which again, I'm fairly connected to, but I'm more strongly connected to Oasis for sure. And to see or hear that one of their songs is being used in some sort of random ass product would just kind of sadden me. Yeah, it would.
I think it's an Apple commercial. It might have been in.
And see, that changes things a little bit. Something about what it's selling might change my perspective.
I don't know. I don't know because it's still selling something.
Yeah, but if it's something I like,
do you like Apple?
then maybe that's okay.
See, where? Okay.
I don't mind.
I mean,
Apple.
again, I'm not better. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to be. Well, I try. I don't because it's a TV. Because it's me shouting at a TV like a crazy person. I'm not trying to change my behavior and relationship with Hood cottage cheese. But in everyday life, like I don't hold it against someone who just found Take on Me. I don't hold it against someone who's like, who I look at and I'm like, they were born 6 years after 1986, which is a random measurement, not when the song came out. I used to be like, this isn't for you. How dare you find Echo and the Bunnymen? Who do you think you are listening to Alex Chilton on Guitar Hero? Like that used to bug me.
Yeah.
The song, not the guy. But I think I'm better with that, which I'm glad. I don't think I don't lash out at people because that's bullshit. Because that person is getting an experience. That person, right. That's a wonderful, important, and great experience, and they don't need some old man swinging, telling them, no, that's mine. Because I wasn't in the band. I didn't write it.
Right.
So I've gotten better with that, which is good. But given the face to TV screen experience of it, yeah, it really irks me, bothers me. But what never bothered me, and I imagine because I don't like the musician, the musician. Did I say musician?
You said musician. I heard musician.
musician. That's the trick. I think as a kid growing up watching TV, do you remember Teddy Grahams?
Yeah, I do.
They're like a cracker, like a graham cracker in shape of a bear. Do you remember the mascot for Teddy Grahams?
Wasn't he like an Elvis ripoff?
Yeah, he was a bear doing an Elvis impression.
Yeah.
Singing "Your Teddy Grahams" instead of "Your Teddy Bear."
Right.
To sell fucking Nabisco products to the fans of Jace and the Wheeled Warriors, or Spiral Zone, or Voltron, Defender of the Universe, or whatever show was on at that time. I had a list that I could look up, but so that must have driven. And Elvis, not inexplicably and not understood by me, Elvis used to be adored as one of the greatest musicians.
Yeah.
That must have driven people nuts who liked Elvis. Wait, the song, that bear, these crackers?
Right.
Meaning the actual crackers. But it didn't impact me because I was a kid.
Right. We didn't really know Elvis's impact.
It also didn't make me hate Elvis. I hate Elvis because I've listened to Elvis. And because of the fans. But the use in this commercial, didn't go one way or the other. Right. It might be my favorite Elvis song because it's the only one I can think of. And I got the wrong lyrics to it. But I think I'm becoming an old man if now I feel like, well, Take On Me, which has existed for 30-something years, can't be dipped into a commercial? I mean, the fucking Beatles are in commercials. Led Zeppelin's kind of in that liquid Clorox commercial that sounds like Living, Love, and Made, but it's probably not exactly the same thing. Blondie is all over commercials. The Ramones are all over commercials. The Sex Pistols, Iggy Pop, they're all in fucking commercials. So what? I don't know. It does bother me a bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I'm less bothered by bands of previous generations. I find myself... If I'm bothered at all, I'm more bothered by my songs. The songs I grew up with.
Because they're your songs.
Because they're my songs. Right.
And they're being turned... I mean, we know what a commercial is, so they're being turned into jingles.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But honestly, though, I do prefer the style, like, feeling where it's just the soundtrack. And it sounds like Take On Me is just the soundtrack. I prefer that than to rewrite the lyrics to sell a cookie cracker.
Interesting. So you're not a fan of Your Teddy Grahams?
No, I never was.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're not good. I mean, they're graham crackers wearing sunglasses, so they're great. How can that go wrong? What am I saying? That's a brilliance.
Oh.
Can you think of any commercials that you're happy to hear a song you like in?
No, not really. Not off the top of my head, no.
There was a Target ad about 10 years ago that had a Paul Westerberg song in it. I was like, good for you, sir. Way to go. Mr. Rabbit, you didn't write that one. But you performed it, and it's in this commercial.
That's an interesting take. It's like, why is that good for him? Because he's making some money off of selling it to Target to use? Like, why is it
That's a good point.
Why is it good for him?
Because I felt like you're reaching an audience.
Which is exactly what we're saying about these other things. It's like, and that's how I felt about the laws. But not how I felt about Black Sheep, because it was twisting the message of the song. And I think that's probably what I have a bigger problem with than when it's just the soundtrack of the music.
It's an artistic appropriation of something that's already art.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we don't sit well with that. But boy, do I love Weird Al Yankovic.
And now we know.
Yeah. Is that everything?
I think that's plenty. This bonus episode was regular length.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. But yeah, thank you for listening to this bonus 20th Century Pop episode. We'll be back next week. We're coming up on our 100th episode pretty soon. I think in just a few more episodes we're there. I've got some things planned for that, so excited for that.
That's going to be
fun. Also got probably got some pop fives in our future. We haven't done those. It's terrifying.
Those are the worst.
That's the worst. So we got
but the audience loves them, I hear.
I don't know. Coming up soon, the worst. But, this week, this. But, check us out at 20popcast.com. That's the website for the show. You can always hear the most recent episode. It's streaming right there on the main page. can also find links to all of our old episodes, as well as subscribe to us. If you like the show, subscribe to us. That's a great way to support us. You can get us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, spots like that. I've been writing or trying to write some essays every week, just kind of exploring pop culture in written form. Those are posted up every week under the banner of Not a Hologram. That's the name of that column. So if you want, those go up on Tuesdays. So if you want to check out the website on Tuesday, there's always a new piece up there. You can follow the show on Instagram at 20popcast. You can follow the show on Twitter at 20popcast, and you become friends with the show on Facebook. Bob, do you want to add anything?
Sure. You can follow me separately from the show at RH Canning. And I think that's all I have to promote. Although I'm hoping, actually, Tim, that in the near future I'll have some new things to promote. So let's keep the show going so I can do that.
I'm hoping for that. I'm also hoping that in the future you count the show as something you do. But yes, I'm hoping you have something creative in the near future. And we'll hopefully be speaking to you, some of you, next week. That was awkward, but that's fine.
That's fine.
All right.
You can cut off the second next week. Maybe.
And then just put this part in?
Well, no. And then just end it.
End it.
Next week.